Good evening, all. How are we all getting on this fine Friday? Hope you're all having a good day, good week, all of that good stuff. It is hot as balls in my room. I have a southwest facing room that I stream from, which means that from like 11 a.m. it gets the sun, which is honestly excessive. It is far too much. Far too much. Who have we got here this evening? You good, Sunburt? Like a finger should be. Hell yeah. I assume you meant ginger, but, you know, middle finger. Hey, Voltron, how you doing? We have got your list here. We could, be as good a place as any to start. It's always nice to start with people that are here. Let's have a look at what we're working with. A little bit quiet to start. If you are here and you haven't already, do give the stream a thumbs up. Helps get picked up by the algorithm, all of that good stuff. And if you want to support the channel, you can do so by liking, commenting, all that helps. But also if you want to become a member of the channel, there is a button down below, which is something that I probably need to get better at actively shilling, given that it is my channel. No one's going to do it for me. Voltron, you forgot to add Falconhorn on the Grail for my list. Well, interesting about that. There's mixed opinions, because the Falconhorn, if you look at it specifically... here we go. Falconhorn says, when it loads up, this character may attempt to use the Falconhorn. Now, I personally feel like this should work for unit champions, and I think it's just the specific wording. The unit champion counts as a character as in terms as whether they're able to use it. The general consensus of the internet at the moment is that you can't use the Falconhorn if you are not a character. Chris is here. Snow's finally melting. Oh, I'd swap with you. I'm a big fan of the cool. Tom is here. Good evening, Tom. Has a flavour. Starting on time, I see. How dare you, sir? How dare you? My stream setup is falling apart. The green screen is now held up with glue, so I need to order a new backdrop or something like that. Krieghammer, good evening. Good to see you as well, buddy. Good to see you. Must be nice and early for you. Still got your work day to go. Or wait, hold on. You're ahead of us, right? So it'll be your Saturday morning. Anthony's here as well. Good to have you, Anthony. Well, let's get started with it. So we've got there's a few Bretonnians, there's a lot of Warriors of Chaos, and then there's some sprinklings of other armies as well. How many have we got? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Warriors of Chaos. So what I'm going to try and do is intersperse them, so I'm not just going Warriors of Chaos back to back to back. Now, you put on yours that the Illusion Caster takes Glittering Robe to go into the Grails or Knights of the Realm for -1 hit and the Spectral Doppelganger. This makes loads of sense. You need to decide on your weapon. Yeah, I did look at the sort of the Stout-Hearted and think probably not. Which is fine. We've got points to change that. You've also got Knights of the Realm on foot that are almost fully built, and you've got a player pack as well. Let's have a look at this. Hey, Cthulhu, from Utah in the US. Hope you are doing well. And Skulls is here, looking for the next 30 to 4 minutes off work. Hell yeah. There are few things better to do when you're at work than not work. Mr. here being Scorville and Git Smasher. Hell yeah, I did. I was amused by your comment. The two brothers who are going to the same tournament. Wizard Swine says that you love Spectral Doppelganger, but you failed to cast it all 3 times you've been in combat with it. Now, I'm going to assume that given your name, you're an intermediary level wizard. Maybe a level 2, pushing level 3. If you can get up to that level 4, you're going to find it a lot easier to cast the spells. Alright, so we're having a quick look at this player pack. Let's just see if there's anything exciting in here that is different. This all looks normal. Here we go. So you've got to capture objectives, unit strength 5+, and you get okay, rank bonus and standards. If you have no standards, you may select 2 core and 1 special army. So this is if your army has no standards. Interesting. This could be abused. Let's just assume that everyone's going to come in from the, the correct approach. Controlling objectives, yep, that is fine. Maintaining control, and then you've got objectives in the center. Victory points, controlled objectives, 200 victory points at the end of each battle round. That is hefty. That is hefty. Number 2 is 3 objectives. So is it just 200 points per? Okay, so they all give 200 points per. And the battle scoring, and it's fairly standard 150 gaps here. Or no, it's 200 then 150. Oh. What happens if I score 400 or 500 to 504 points? Do I just fit between here? That looks like a little bit of a typo. Someone might want to tell Mike that he's got a typo in his his VP differential there. It's okay. We all understand what it's meant to be. And then also you get points for behemoths at half health. So you have got then a list that we can look at. Duke, Lady Elise, Prophetess, Paladin, Knights of the Realm, 5 Knights of the Realm with a standard. I was thinking that they maybe weren't worth the standard, but I think they probably are in this pack. Peg Knights, Grail Knights as well. Cool. So the first thing we're going to do, you've got the Prophetess who's here for illusion, and you've gone for the Sword of the Stout-Hearted. I think let's just break some eggs. Go straight for the Heartwood Lance. What were the other options you were thinking? Headsman's Axe. I think Headsman's Axe is strikes last, right? Yeah. Oh, it's not. So it'd be only strength 4 AP 1. 500 to 504 gets you 0 VP. Yep, that's correct. Oh god. A level 4 Lich Priest and Mortuary Cult didn't pass the cast for illusion. That's pretty rough. That's pretty rough. Sorry to hear that. Okay, so weapons-wise, do you have... hold on. So Lore Familiar, I always like a Power Scroll if I'm going illusion. How many points have we got? Yeah, we got points to do this. Because sometimes you just need to get that spell through, and a Power Scroll is a great way to do that. And then we're talking... I think probably still Heartwood Lance, right? Because it takes you to Strength 6. One of the issues with casting a level 4 Spectral Doppelganger is you normally have Strength 3, which makes it harder to do. AP 3 is just really good. And you can only use it on the turn you charge. That's fine. Either you're winning that fight or you're losing. That's just Bretonnians kind of through and through. So I don't mind that. Cool. And we've still got 10 points available. This character I think was pretty standard. Ogre Blade, Locket, Gauntlet, Knightly Temper. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Then you got a BSB and Lady Elise as well. Cool. So that all makes sense. Here you're perfectly fitting it into core. And we do need to shave 25 points somehow. That is a difficult one, because I think the Pegasus Knights are good. Maybe we take them down to... Every model you lose from Grail Knights really affects their potential. Is there anything that we can do to sort of tweak here? So I think the Gauntlet of the Jewel can probably go away. That feels like it's extraneous points that we don't care if we lose too much. The rest of what we've got on here is pretty necessary. How locked in are you to the Duke having the Virtue of Knightly Temper? Because I think the Killing Blow version is cheaper. Let's just have a quick look and make sure I'm not completely nuts. So we go Virtue of Heroism, drop the Ogre Blade, go Grommel Great Helm. It's, do I take Foot Knights or these smaller units of Knights? Ooh, that's a good point. Yeah, we could maybe make some tweaks there as well. So, if you cut this character, you would be under...
Tips?
Okay, I think that was the desktop audio muted. Your Empire Boys take on 9 Goblin Fanatics tomorrow. Any tips? Pray. Convert to Bretonnia and pray to the lady. What's your list? Like, have you got a couple of wizards? Have you got any battle magic wizards? If you can, the easiest way to get rid of fanatics is to hit them with like a vortex because it's dangerous terrain. So if you drive a pillar of fire over them, then they're usually going to be pretty okay. So Voltron, I think the core's not the problem because you're at 500 points exactly. So you're struggling to you wouldn't be able to cut any points here in general. Unless you wanted to, you're talking about making the Knights of the Realm like a solid size unit. You could do that. I don't hate this unit at all, though. And this is like a cheeky little get on a point and cap it, get you 200 points on turn 2. You know, that's fine. Battle Magic Wizards and a few MSU Knights to use as missiles. Yeah, that's probably your best plan there. So the easiest way I see to get this under points is to go from the Ogre Blade character to the Killing Blow character. If you don't want to do that, you just drop a Grail Knight. Happy nearly weekend. Hell yeah. I think Friday evening's the weekend. I count that. So, if I just... let me just duplicate this, because I'm going to post both for you. So, there's this version here, where we get rid of this, and then you've got some points, and I think you really want to pick up musicians on the Peg Knights, the Grail Knights. Oh, you can't have both. Ah, that hurts. I think I'm more bothered about getting it on the Peg Knights, because the Grail Knights actually do more damage. So this is, if I just export this one here, this would be the version if you're willing to change. Voltron. And then the version if you don't want to do that, if we just go back to the original version, we drop this. And then we go down here, put in a musician, and can you go find a musician here? No, it is 7 points. So they're both 5 points short. So they might be like some core tweaking to get like spend that extra 5 points. But I think either of these kind of do what you want to. You could go for a Knights of the Realm brick. I don't think you've got the support in it because you've gone double wizard, which I really don't hate. It's obviously different, but Bretonnians are really strong. You can kind of play around with loads of different options. So if you want to go double wizard, I don't think there's a good way to go proper support for the Foot Knights. So I think this is, you know, going for the fast unit that's just going to get you some points early game that probably has to run away when it gets challenged. That's probably better than going for a big brick of Knights of the Realm that takes forever to get there and then kind of just gets chunked through pretty quickly. Cool. Goblin Star versus Chaos. Any tips? I'm doing the tricks you guess I would. If you're playing the Goblin Star, you have the advantage. Unless they don't have a wizard. A dragon, I guess. It's a little harder if they don't have a dragon. But you can still, you know, basically hold the Fanatic. Get your Fanatic positioning and, like, damage right. Basically, only drop them the turn they have to charge, if you can. And then make the, you know, hit them twice with the Fanatics. Okay, so we've got our first list in Bretonnians, which is... It's nice that we've got a different one. We've got a couple of really flavorful or different Bretonnian lists, which I do like. What was the other one? Aslans, yes, I did like that one. But who else have we got in the chat? Anyone else here? Cthulhu, I'm assuming Old World Cthulhu is also Cthulhu James on Discord. Am I correct? The Foot Knights can get good for taking control of the objectives since you can get to objective control 3. Yeah, you can. So let's just like very quickly look at... I think they're quite pricey. So let's say you go down to 7 here, you drop the antlers, and you go bare bones on this unit, and you really try and like go for it. So you drop this, and you drop the knights here. How many models can you even get in? Because you'd go War Banner in this unit, because they're gonna need... you probably go Hand Weapon Shield, honestly, because you're just going for a bunker. So if you go 20... honestly, that's not awful. Something like 20 of them here. You could play around with that in core, for sure. I don't hate it. And then you could use... Like, depending on what you roll is the problem. Because, like, if you had guaranteed... in Elementalism, Plague of Rust, and... TMP and the ward save, you could just TP them onto a point and they're pretty invulnerable for the first turn. Obviously, you can't cast the ward save on them when they're in combat already, but I think I prefer the more mobile scoring, and then you just sort of bully them off the points with the rest of your stuff, but your mileage may vary. If you get a chance to play some practice games, I'd give both a go. Apart from the Bretonnian Lord and DP, who do you think is the best 360 charge unit? Probably, if we're talking characters, probably the Chaos Lord on Demonic Steed. I think we're going to see more and more of that over time. If you're talking units, I really like the Skinwolves. I think Skinwolves are fantastic. I played against them last weekend. It was really fun to play against. I think they're really solid. Obviously, they're not Peg stars, but they are solid. Alternative answer, Pegasus Knights. Good evening, Existence. I hope you're doing well. Went hand weapon shields and great weapons. Yeah, you can tweak, and you lose a couple of models to go for those. I think those are all fine options. Right. 2 practice with the Foot Knights. First game rolled a 10 for losing combat by 1 and got run down. Yeah, it's a bit swingy. Like, infantry, even cheapish, tanky-ish infantry are in a bit of a rough spot, which is why I'm not super in love with going for them. Do you like Skinwolves even if you don't do the character check? Yeah, I played against 18 of them. That was a hell of a game. Paul, I want to say it's Paul Lowe, and I'm so sorry, Paul, if that's not your surname. But I played against Paul, who brought 3 units to 6, and yeah, I think that list has legs. Something that I think I might want to play around with. Not necessarily like as a tournament list, but just for fun. Late joining, did we get to your list last? No, Aslan, we didn't. But thank you for the kind words. And I think your list is really interesting. So what we'll do is we'll go this Warriors of Chaos list, and then we'll go to yours next. No worries at all, Voltron. If you get more practice games in or consider more tweaks, as always, feel free to post it in the Bretonian list chat. Ping me, and I can have a look at any changes that you want to make. So, Cthulhu James, we have got normally start at 8 p.m. BST or GMT, whatever we're on. We're in BST now. So, started about 25 minutes ago. This list, I looked at this list and I was like, okay, this fucks. Let me just see if you had put anything into the chat. I feel like you'd put some text. That was Justin Cthulhu. Here we go. Strategy is to screen the formidable Forsaken. Screen with the formidable Forsaken, leaving the infantry wizards to see between the cracks in the lines or focus fire any large targets that approach. The dragon is a threat they cannot ignore. I like it. So, the problem with Warriors of Chaos is there is like an objectively best way to play, I think, which is a level 4 wizard with puppet and a dragon, and then you just go core to taste, and then probably a Warpfire dragon, or you could maybe get away with double spawn, but I think the Warpfire dragon's too good. However, if you don't want to go down that line and you want to do something different that's still good and is still as good or better than most tournament lists because you're still playing, a good Warriors of Chaos list, I think this is a really fun way to go. It is more vulnerable to miscasts. It is more vulnerable to being just run down by a dragon or something like that. However, God, I love casting Blue Fire, so I'm a big fan of this. Big fan indeed. Has a flavour as picking up Tomb Kings, starting his villain arc. I appreciate that. That's fun. Okay, so after glazing the list, let's just quickly talk about it. So you've got a Demon Prince level 4 Tzeentch, and something that's difficult, and the reason that you don't see some of the upgrades you might want to see is going triple level 4 takes up all your points in Warriors of Chaos, so it's hard to fit some stuff in. Demon Prince level 4 with Fly and Battle Magic, with a Spell Familiar. Level 4 on foot with Spell Familiar, Infernal Puppet, Ruby Ring, and then level 4 on foot, Spell Familiar, Rod of the Damned. Now, Rod of the Damned, for those of you who haven't seen it before, is another magic missile staff. So basically, you can cast the summoning as level 2. Now, I'm not super in love with this item for 40 points. It's more expensive than the Ruby Ring, and it casts on a 9, and it's a shorter range. So it's harder to get off. You need to roll a 7, which means you're getting it off 56% of the time before reroll. So we're just going to knock that off. It might go back on, but I think there might be other options that we can potentially look at. Foot Sork Lords with no units to join are very risky. This is true, but it's high risk, high reward. You love those magic missiles. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Yeah, like, I'd love to put them on horses, but you just can't do that because then they're not screened by anything. The core, I think, is absolutely fine. Obviously, it's kind of take your pick. In this list, you're kind of not so bothered about getting there fast, so you don't need to go Slanesh. You're more worried, like, they're going to come to you because you're going to be blasting them. So them being Khorne makes sense. 5 with Vanguard, just having at least 1 unit makes a lot of sense as well. And then Warpfire Dragon. I'm generally not a Wizard Warpfire Dragon believer, but I think this is the one case where you've already got 3 wizards that are blasting, and then you've got a mobile tanky piece that also casts. Realistically, I think the use case for this a lot of the time is going to be march at 20 inches, park it next to the unit that you want to hit with triple blue fire, and then you just vaporize it and they don't get any ward saves. You know, their Death Star that they've put the ward save on. But it's, yeah. A bit of a Warp Fire Dragon hater, just so pricey. It is the best 375 point bit of magic equipment you can put on your Ogre Blade Chaos Lord ever. It's so good. And it's also a dragon, and the thing, like, it's surprisingly tanky, so just getting an additional ward against flaming attacks and magic attacks means that sometimes you're just like, oh, I accidentally got a triple 5-up save. Neat. So, I think the core premise is good. I think I would like to have a bunker to put these in. So what I would say is maybe we just go 3 units of Forsaken, because I think the point about it being super risky to not have anything to put in, you know, the models in, is very true. So these are heavy infantry, I believe. Yeah, heavy infantry. So we can't go with skirmishing marauders, unfortunately. And we're not going to put them in the unit every game. This is basically just if your opponent's running like Pillars of Fire and stuff, or really fast units, you want someone that they can sit into. So I think we go something like a unit of 20 with light armor shield, Mark of Zinch, and they come with close order. So let's just go down to Musician, Chieftain. Yeah, here we go. So I think just tweaking the core slightly is good. Actually, we need to drop these a little bit because we do want to put more magic items in here. The other thing we can do is... what were we going for here? You've gone for Puppet already. Grimoire is not needed. No. Tome... I really want to get Skull of Catan in. Does that fit points-wise? No, it's 16 points over. Okay, maybe it just is the rod that you had already. Maybe that's like the most bang for your buck. Because I don't think there's anything else that's just going to directly increase your power apart from Skull, but Skull doesn't fit in the points. And I'd rather not drop, like, any of these items. I'd also quite like to make this guy a little bit tankier, but I don't think there's a reasonable way to do it. After taking out Rod, you have enough character points to get horses for the sorcerers. You do, Jalib, but then you're not screened by anything is the problem. So you'd have to then put in a big unit of Marauder Cav, which then kind of defeats the point of the Forsaken being there. This is just, the Marauders are a secondary, like, you can just kind of throw them at the wall, or you can use them to protect your wizard if needs be. So, can we go... 14 without a musician's probably better than 13 with. Cool. Sweet. Yeah, I think this is the tweak that I'd make. So I haven't really made much of a tweak. Literally just, I think you want to have something in the back pocket to protect against other people being able to shoot you to death. Another option is to go Undivided, Tomb of the Ungods, to swap into Blue Fire and summoning on them in that way. That is true. Yeah, you could pick up another spell. I think because we're putting in a unit of Zinch Marauders, if you want that +1 to cast, you can just bunker the Sorcerer Lords in there, which is probably better than getting the summoning cast at +4 when all the rest of your spells are cast at +5. I think that's probably more ideal. Oh, plus that would have to go into Demonology. If you drop the Rod, you can use those points of the Prince. So the only thing I'd use on the Prince, realistically, is I'd probably want to give it Armor of Meteoric Iron. That's the main thing. Because then you've got a 5-up, 4-up, 5-up, which is just really tanky. It's kind of like a minor thing. It's not the biggest problem, especially because you're going to use it as a mobile caster, as opposed to using it as a melee beat stick. I think that's about it. I don't think there's really anything else in here I'd tweak. Like, you could also shave points here if you wanted to be, like, more cutthroat and take other upgrades, but you're already kind of at cap here as well, so I think this is good. I think this works. Lawless was submitted, so I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, that's so. Daniel, what is your username? And I can tell you whether you are or not. My brain's just turned off. Cthulhu. No worries. It's a fun list. I really like this one. I'm a big fan of the Blastercaster premise. Thank you, Christian. Appreciate you. 40 people here, only 10 likes. Yes, if you could hit that thumbs up button, it would help. spectacularly and all of that good stuff. Cool, so we've got that one, and I did say we're going to go onto Aslan's list afterwards as well. So let's have a look here at Aslan's list, because there was some text before it. Let's see, where were you at? You said, it's a cracking kindness that I do this. I appreciate that. I really like doing it. It's definitely not like a super altruistic thing. I think it's content that's good, and it's content I enjoy doing, and I'm glad that people like watching it. But it's nice of you to say. A bit of a meme list. You feel like you would just crush some things. So this is a triple hippogriff list, which I think is really fun. And obviously, Bretonnians are already in a pretty decent spot. So, and you're not playing against too many hypertuned or dragon lists. So this is kind of a more slightly softer list, but it is, I think really solid. I do like that overall. So let's have a look here. What are we working with? Click into the list. So you've gone Duke, Baron, Baron, Paladin. So you've gone triple hippogriff. Immediately, because I love the idea, I think we're going to remove the Paladin, because I want to go more upgrades on these triple hippogriffs. The core, I think, is super solid. This makes sense. You've just got core that can run around and do something without being supported. 4 Peg Knights with no upgrades, and then 6 Grail Knights. Again, so I think, unfortunately, Falconhorn doesn't work if you're a non-character, so I'm just going to take the Grail Guardian out, but that does buy us some points to upgrade with. Let's have a look here. So, first order of business, I think the Peg Knights, they probably want a Standard Bearer, and they probably want the Banner of Shalons. I think that's just a really good upgrade. It means that they can fly around and charge into units that can want to shoot without being stand and shot, so that's really solid. I generally would like a Musician as well, but we'll come back and see if we've got points for that. In core, you've got... Yeah, these are fine. If you're going for the smaller units like these, you maybe don't even go Standard Bearer, just in terms of giving up points, but I don't think it's awful. You're going for a less cutthroat list, so having something that your opponent can run down and pick up, a little bit extra points is probably a good thing. Let's get to the meat and potatoes. We've got a triple hippogriff, and that's just fun. I think that's incredible. First things first, I'm just going to say, let's go Lance with the Duke. Yes, it is worse if you get tied up in a protracted combat, but it also means that you can get to that 2-up save, which I think is really nice on your general. So we've got a Barded Hippogriff, which I think a Hippogriff is T5, and it gives you +3 wounds. So +1 toughness and 3 wounds, and you start off at T4. Yeah, correct. So it gets you up to 7 wounds at T5. So you're kind of like a mini Wyvern. But you do have a 2-up save because you've gone for the Grummel Great Helm. You've also gone for Syrian's Locket, which I think we did need to take off. Yeah, because it's infantry or cavalry only. But that's okay. And then you had Gauntlet to the Duel. I'm going to take that off for now, because that's sort of like, in my eyes, the last 5 points that you put on. Here you've gone for Lance, Shield, Barding, Gauntlet of the Duel, Virtue of the Ideal, so we'll just shave the Gauntlet here and we'll maybe come back to that one. Virtue of the Ideal is pretty solid. I do like this. +1 weapon skill, initiative and attacks means that, and you can't be the army general or join a unit. This is not a downside because it's a monster, so you're not worried about it. Hippogriffs are only the monstrous creatures. They're not behemoths. So this leaves us 117 points left, because we've got this one here as well. I think personally, I know you're not going super cutthroat, but I think giving your general the virtue of heroism, which gets them to, the killing blow and the monster slayer, I think that's still really solid. And I don't think it's too oppressive because you're not playing, you said you're not playing against a huge amount of dragons. This kind of gets worse when it's not playing against a dragon, but I still think it's worth putting on your general. A lot of the power in Bretonnians come from these virtues. This does leave us with the ability to give a virtue to the Baron. Now, I didn't actually pre-look at these. Obviously, we could go Heroism. I don't think... Sorry, Knightly Temper. We don't have points for it, and I don't actually think it's super worthwhile unless you're going for a magic weapon. So let's just flick through the rest of them. We don't care about Stoicism. Penitent is not relevant to us here. You've already got Virtuous of the Ideal. Impetuous Knight is no. Audacity is... This isn't awful. Rerolling hit rolls against enemies with a higher weapon skill. That's an option that we could go for, but I don't know if I love it for 35 points. We don't need that. Virtue of Duty is +1 combat res. That's not terrible. It's a shame you can't make them your BSB as well. Virtue of the Joust. There we go. This is probably the way to go. Just getting flat rerolls with the Lance is probably worth doing for 20 points. And let's just have a quick look here. Is there anything else that we want to put in item-wise? So magic items... I don't know that we need any magic weapons on either of these two. I think they're both perfectly fine just running around being sort of like mid-table terrors. Is there anything that's worth picking up? I don't know that there is. I think maybe you just go... We've taken Falconhorn from the Grail Knights and you put it onto the third character here. The one that's 3 points over. That's a little bit annoying. Is there anything we can cut to get there? I think maybe we just cut the Virtue of the Joust. Like, it's a nice idea, but I'm not super bothered about going for it. You could go Virtue of Confidence, because then if you end up in a challenge, you get to reroll hits, which is not quite as good as rerolling wounds, but it's, you know, it's 5 points less and it fits in. So I think this is a better version of the triple Hippogriff meme. You can definitely play around with the loadout a little bit if you want to. I think there's definitely scope. Like, this one here, I think, probably stays as he is. This one here, I like for a pretty budget but pretty decent character. This one here, I'm less sort of sold on. But, you know, feel free to tweak. You could drop the Falconhorn and the Virtue, which would be 55 points. You could drop the Lance, so that'd be 59. You've got 2 points available. That takes you up to 60 points. So if you could squeeze 5 points out somewhere, you could get Ogre Blade on one of your characters. But then you're not also getting the Virtue of Knightly Temper, so I don't know that it's super worth doing. But yeah, I think these are good. Something that people may not realise is Hippogriffs have countercharge. So yes, they don't have 360 line of sight, but you can just plonk them in front of the thing that wants to charge you, and you go, cool, I'm just going to countercharge at you. Yeah. Cut something in core. We are pretty much capped at core. We're almost at the minimum there. Sarundus, caught up with Urk. How's it going? Yeah, glad to have you, Sarundus. Hope you're doing well. Cool. And that does leave us 22 points, which is not enough for a Grail Knight. That's unfortunate. What if we just went... put some command in here? I think that might be the way to go. Full command on the Grail Knights is probably solid. Feels pretty thematic. Standard on bow. So it's not that we need 5 points here, it's that we need 5 points in the characters, because we're almost at the 1,000 points. This because we've just filled out the last of the points by going full command on the Grail Knight. But yeah, I think this is a fun list. I'd be interested to hear how this goes. I think this has definitely got legs. So if I go Aslan, boom, there we go. I am interested in hearing how that one performs for you. Please do feedback if you get any games in with that one. All right, cool. So, who did we have up next? I'm pretty sure we'll report back. Glad to see it. Glad to hear it. Looking forward to seeing how that goes. I think we had someone else who was here, I believe, unless I'm making that one off. I didn't. Oh yes, I did have a quick skim of your wizards list as well, Aslan. But I think it has meme potential, but I think the list that you've put in otherwise is better and maybe more fun to play because you've got 3 just big beefy boys that fly around. Fantastic. Music Theory Wizard lurking. I'm sorry, I forget your username every time. So if you have submitted a list, please do let me know, and I can look at yours next. I ask it every time that I see you post, and I can't remember. And it's going to come up, and I'm like, oh yeah, of course, it's such and such. I feel like no, I was gonna guess, but then I'm just gonna be wrong, and that's rude. Messing around with 3 Cygors, do you think that would be viable? I don't think so, but if you want to play a fun game, I think that is fun. Yes, Christian. Yes, of course. You have Git Smasher and Scorville. So let's have a look at those. We've just looked at... we'll look at your brother's list first, just because there's so many Warriors of Chaos lists that I want to try and alternate through. So we'll go with that list here. And I do need to remember it was Git Smasher. There we go. Cool. Just Gold Star guy. Oh, no worries, Music Theory Wizard. Thank you for being here. I did get a chance to look at your list, Nicholas. We can have a look at yours, not next list, but the one after that. Anubis's with Renegade's Restrictions. Goblin Star. A Goblin Star Enjoyer, yes. I am not a Goblin Star Enjoyer, but that's more because the amount of times I have to play against it. Alright, perfect. So, we'll go with Git Smashers first, and then we'll go on to Scovel, and then we'll go on to Nikki Butcher. So, this was Git Smashers. Let's have a look. Was there anything in the chat about this one? That was Justin's. The problem is I normally just skim for the army, but because there's so many Warriors of Chaos that I can't just find that. There we go. Okay, so this was... Main goal of this is the Skin Wolves to buff up the demonic mount character. So. I think Rules as written this works. However, I think most tournament organisers rule that Warped Form doesn't work for passing the buffs on. And I think it's something that will probably be FAQ'd out, because the buffs are so good that I could see them not being usable. Like, I think this is something that they'll probably want to take out the game, because giving a character, you know, +1 AP and Armor Bane 2 is probably too good for just taking a character, you know, a unit that you put it in. However, assuming that you are aware of that and where you're playing is okay with it, let's approach the list from that perspective. So, there are 3 characters here. There's a Giant Blade tank on a Chaos Lord. There's an Exalted Champion with Ogre Blade who's there to slap, and then there's an Exalted Sorcerer who is a level 2 wizard, because you can't take level 4s, and also a Chaos Lord in this detachment. So, we also have Horsemen, Berserkers, and then triple Skin Wolves with a unit champion and 3 Dragon Ogres. Hope the Skin Wolves get added to the Beastman Arcane Journal. That would be cool. I don't think they are, unfortunately, but that would be really, like, you know, that would be nice. Especially since some of the best Warriors of Chaos unit come from the Beastmen Journal. You know, Dragon Ogres, we want them back. So, let's start off with the characters. I think that this concept is fine, where you're going for a tanky character. I don't think Giant Blade is it. Because realistically, this is probably someone who's trying to tank a dragon, I'm assuming. If you're trying to tank a dragon, you're going to be strength 6, but you're going to be AP 0, and dragons are going to have a 3-up or 2-up armor save. So realistically, you're never actually getting the damage through. You're just leaning on the Armor Bane. I think you'll do more damage, even if you just go Biting Blade or Sword of Might. I think I prefer Biting Blade, because it gives you AP 2, Armor Bane 1, which means that the buffs that you stack on top of it probably are better. Oh, no, fuck. Because you're playing it as if you're able to get the AP and the Armor Bane. Alright. Yeah, actually, I kind of think that works. I might be tempted to go Sword of Might. No, that probably just is the best if you're putting it in a unit with the intention of giving it +1 AP and +2 Armor Bane. Alright, no, we'll leave it. That was going to be sort of like the big thing I changed, but yeah, I guess in the context of the way that this potentially works. Okay, sure. The Ogre Blade character, I really like. I don't think this needs to be tweaked at all. And then we've got the Exalted Sorcerer, who is Infernal Puppet, Battle Magic, Demonic Mount. I think I'd be tempted to go Demonology. It's only a 1 in 3 chance to roll the spell is the problem. And Battle Magic, you can take Hammer Hand. Maybe this is just a Battle Magic angle. Like, the other angle you can go for is Demonology, and you're hoping to roll into Demonic Vessel, but that's a 1 in 3, so it probably doesn't actually make much sense to do that. Okay, maybe the characters just sort of make sense the way they are. Into core, I personally am a believer of going shields on your horsemen, and that just means that they're more likely to get where they need to with some sort of vague semblance of use. I know they're not going to use it in combat, but they're just slightly tankier against shooting. Berserkers, I think if you go for 8s, 8s is just a good number, and then we just need to tweak. You've gone for throwing axes on the other units. I don't hate throwing axes on these. I also don't hate ambushes, because one of the things you can do is running these around. So maybe you just go ambushes on all 3 of the units, and it also gives you the opportunity to drop your number of drops if you are worried about not going first. What would we tweak here to get rid of that then? Maybe you just go 8, 8. Oh, 7. No. You could drop the unit champion. I think you only need 1 unit champion, honestly. Because you only need 1 for the challenge, if that's going to be your best character. Or you potentially use the one of the Marauder Horsebasters. And otherwise you don't want to get challenged out. So I think this is probably... Yeah, you lose a couple of models, but it gives you the flexibility where you can come on the board edge, throw some throwing axes, and then charge in the back lines. Like throwing axes and ambushes. Yeah, absolutely. You want to be able to do something with the unit the turn it comes on. Which is... needs Mark of Nurgle and Spell Familiar for an extra chance to get Vessel. So the problem with Spell Familiar is we're already at 50 points because Mad Infernal Puppet. And I don't dislike the taking Infernal Puppet, because it gives you that just sort of defensive profile of, yes, I'm only dispelling it +2, but you're casting on 3d6 drop the highest, so I have better chance of dispelling you if I'm in range, and also potentially you just miscast and blow yourself up. Here, extra arm, and we've got Enchanting Aura. I don't think this needs particularly any of the upgrades. Yeah, no upgrades there. So I think really, assuming that he's keeping and understanding that people might not be happy with the concept of the Skin Wolves and the characters together, I think the only thing I'd really tweak is the core, because having these as Frenzy means that you can kind of outmaneuver the rest of the list. Like, if I park a dragon in front of the Berserkers aren't going to do anything into the dragon. They have to charge it, but then at the end of your turn, after you've remaneuvered, I can just, after winning combat with the Berserkers, turn around, face the unit that I want to charge on my turn, and go from there. So I think this is probably all the tweaks I'd make. Git Smasher. There we go. Doesn't give me usernames when I've got it on streamer mode, but if I don't have it on streamer mode, it comes up with a million notifications, so I probably need to try and find some sort of middle ground. Let's have a look at your fluffy-ish vampire counts. So, there was some text going with this one as well. I think you were saying that you were sick of winning, was basically the notes on this one, which I do appreciate. Let's have a look here. So, it was above... list for my local tourney scene where I went undefeated using skink spam. Would like to not be labelled as that guy. Here's a vampire list which I think is the best I can find, a middle ground of fluffy. The revive is there but not too much, with a twist of in-combat resurrection for the wolves and bats via Lord of Night. Yeah, cool. I think the Lord of Night angle is fun because it's different and it's not super optimal, but it's not awful. So it just adds a fun angle onto it. However, I know you're trying not to just smash people. I am going to say let's get rid of the double acolyte and we go for a level 4. I think it's just playing without a level 4 is handicapping yourself too much. We're going to go for a middle ground. We're not going to put it on a Mortis engine, so you're not going to have, the full vampire count bullshit package, and we're not putting any banshees in as well. But we can still have, good spell support instead of just going for the a couple of very low level casters. So here I think probably Skull Staff and a Spell Familiar is the best way to go if you're looking for just sort of general defense. You've got the Vampire Count, who is the Beat Stick. Did I forget to give it a weapon? Yes, it should have a great weapon, and I just forgot to put that on. That's my bad there. And you've got Lord of Night, Master of the Black Arts, Level 2 Illusion, Lord Familiar, Talisman Protection. So it's got a 5-up armor save, a 5-up ward, a 5-up regen, and also then has Illusion, casting at level 3, knowing 3 spells, Spectral Doppelganger with a great weapon. I think that's fun. I would be tempted to put a single power scroll in, because casting at +3 when you don't have a Mortis engine is a bit risky. Normally the way you get around it, only being a level 3 caster, is you have the Mortis engine in range to buff it, so it's getting +4 to its roll. So I think a power scroll there feels pretty good. And then we've got 2 efficient but not back-breaking characters, in my opinion. This is a Necromancer on foot. People generally don't complain too much when you see those, because it's the Necromancers on Mortis Engine that cause the real issues. White Lord, Lance, BSB, Helm of Commandment. I think this is fun. I like it. It's going to go in the Black Knights. Hell yeah. Big fan of that. I'm also a huge fan of having musicians in units, even for undead, because you always want to win. Yes, it doesn't matter if you lose, like, draw the combat, but if you could have won the combat and they have, like, a 1 in 6 chance to just run away and you run them down, especially with a Swift Stride unit, I think that's pretty good. Standard a Hellish Figure here to make them more sort of self-reliant, so you don't have to cast reserve move on them is fine. Crypt Ghouls are just solid. Direwolves, and zombies. The vampire count here, the Lord of the Black Arts, I think that buffs the wolves as well, doesn't it? Lord of the Night, sorry. Yes. You can recover wounds on that. So I understand why you've gone for a bigger unit here, and I won't take any out. Strifey. Hello, party people. Friday night talking about magic items and dice rolls. Sign me up. You're here for life, Strifey. There's no escape. Cool. So we're a little over in core, but that's not a problem at all. And then the Fellbats. We need to shave just a couple of points, basically. So we're 60 points over because we've made the characters a bit more efficient. And the Vargulf is fun. Like, nobody should look at the Vargulf and go, this is ridiculous. It hits pretty hard, 4 attacks at strength 5, AP 2. Then you've got, Bestial Fury, you've got Frenzy, so you're actually hitting pretty hard, but it is also a bit of a nightmare to control, which is funny, I think. I'm a big fan of that. Is it? It's not. Yeah, it is close order. I was for a moment thinking it was a skirmisher, but I think maybe the way we do need to tweak some points here. How do we do this? Maybe we just go down 1 model. Screw it. We're going to lose the musician. I know I just said that I really like the musician, but I also really like not losing the theme of the list. So we're going to cut that here, and then I think if we just go -1 Blood Knight, perfect. There's the maths. Takes us exactly to 2,000. 5 wolves, the companion to it. That makes sense. That does make sense. Cool. So I think this is how I'd tweak to make sure that you're not making the list too good and sticking within the flavor that you've gone for. I think this is a pretty solid version of it. The vampire count can fly around and hits things pretty hard. The necromancer is an effective, caster, dispeller, all of that good stuff. The white lord is just solid in with the black knights, and then you've got assorted ridiculous units. Crypt Ghouls are good, and they're also just kind of funny to run around. The direwolves and the fellbats can be buffed up by the vampire count. Vargulf is funny. Yeah, I like this. I think this is good, and I also think it's not particularly oppressive as far as vampire counts go. Alrighty then. We're doing great. So, we are up to, we've done 4 lists so far, I believe. 5 lists so far. Oh, it was nailing it. I don't want to rush through, but I do want to make sure I'm on pace, because there's a lot of lists today, and also I started 10 minutes late. Wizard Swine. I wish Vampire Cats had more vampire units. I'd love to make a more themed army. Yeah, I'd love to see Vampire Coast. That would be a lot of fun. I know people have been posting online that they assume that it's coming. I don't think it's genuinely coming anytime soon. Maybe we see it like 6 or 8 years down the line. I don't think it's something that we're expecting to see any sort of realistic time soon. But God, I'd love to see it. That'd be a lot of fun. Okay. Nicholas. Nick. We've got your Skaven list. So this is, as you said, this is adapting the Anubis Skaven list to a Renegades faction. Rat. Hell yeah. Vampire Coast, my beloved. Yeah, Vampire Coast are fun. So, I really like what you've gone for. These warlords are nuts. So I'm gonna ask you some questions in a second, but we'll just sort of break down the general premise. You've got a level 4 demonology who's just no upgrades, comes with some free warpstone tokens to get the casting rolls up. Demonology, you're hoping to get Steed of Shadows, ideally. You're hoping to get what do we call it? The demonic figure, demonic vessel, all of that good stuff. Hey, that rat bastard, you're here just in time for the 1 Skaven list that's been submitted, so perfect timing. Then you've got an Elementalism caster on foot with Elementalism. I think, for me, because you've gone gutter runners, are you planning on sort of like marching them around the board with Steed of Shadows? Is that your game plan? Because I'd almost be tempted to go double Demonology. Elementalism is fine, and it does teleport the Plague Monks around. That is true. But if you can just get a guaranteed Steed of Shadows, I think I maybe like that more. So I'm going to tweak that, but feel free to tweak it back. You've got double Warlord here, which is pretty fun. And then you've got Plague Priest to unlock the Plague Monks, and a Chieftain with a 2-up save, and the BSB that gives them Swift Stride. So I think this is all pretty solid. Plague Monks, no additional hand weapon, and you've gone... yes, the Banner of Superiority, which is plus D3 combat res. It's a really good banner. And then double Night Runners is just a good core choice. And then you've gone Gutter Runners as well. So the Gutter Runners, the only thing I know will actually be doing something. You want TMP and Plague of Rust because you think a lot of people will try and avoid the Plague Star. Yeah, that does make sense. So do we maybe go? And I like the concept, but I think we don't need double Warlord. I think double Warlord might be over the top. I think maybe we go single Warlord that is tankier. It's not tanky. It's not tanky, but it's tankier. So I think we maybe go this Skaven Warlord that sits in the Plague Monks, because as you correctly identify, people are probably going to try and avoid them. And I think we go, if you want to do that, we go Elementalism that you're rolling spells, because TMP's good and Plague of Rust are good, but I think the game plan for the Gutter Runners kind of hinges around you have to have Steed of Shadows, you have to have Demonic Vessel. So I think we cut that character, and in doing so, we open up the ability to go like this. Bigger number, better rat. 24 with an assassin. This is how I'd do it if I was going for it. Because this unit is just going to fly around and kill stuff, right? And then they also have to deal with this unit that's around, and you've potentially got the option for Plague of Rusting. So then you do have... do we go 20 points, or is there anything else we need to go in here? The Chieftain with the Cautious Shield is nice. I wouldn't... You know what? Let's go... I've had a thought. Let's take the Talisman of Protection off here. Because sometimes you just need to eat, like, a dragon in a challenge. That's the main thing. So... And I'm taking this from Jack, who runs the tanky character. What if you just went a super defensive chieftain? So chieftains do only have 2 wounds. Or maybe you don't even do that. Maybe you go a Plague Priest, because Plague Priest start at T5, right? Yes, but they can't take shields, can they? Never mind. We're not going for the Plague Priest. You'd love to get a Plague Furnace in, but it breaks Spectral Speed. Yeah, I know. That is a bummer. But so, hear me out on this one. So you've got a Chieftain who's got a 2-up save because of the Cautious Shield and Heavy Armor. For anyone who's not a Skaven player, let me just show you this. This is, I think, a very fun item. So you can use, instead of making attacks, you hold the shield with 2 hands for dear life, and it gives you +3 to your armor save. So you go from a 5-up to a 2-up. So you have a 2-up save and a 5-up ward, which means that you can kind of tank challenges, because you then also have, you know, these don't have Horde, do they? Oh, they do have Horde. So Plague Monks are Close Order, 3 ranks for Horde, Banner, BSB, Grand Banner of Superiority. Oh, okay, you auto-win. You auto-win on combat. So let's not bother. Like, that's a cute idea, but I don't think it's super worth doing, because we're already, you know, winning on the Musician at minimum. So let's just go back to giving the Ogre Blade guy. The other thing you can do is you could just give them the Paymaster's Coin and make sure that the Ogre Blade character is hitting real hard. Because if you're not in a challenge, you can just make your attacks and then retire to the back. That might actually be the best way of doing things. And with the Paymaster's Coin, you just guarantee that you're hitting real hard. Maybe that's it. And then we can just go... I don't really want to go for another model here, because multiples of 4 are really good. I guess we just go... You could just go like a couple of unit champions here, something like that. I don't hate this at all. I think this is fine. The other option is you could go level 2 wizard here and try and get more demonology casts. maybe it's not worthwhile. You could go Battle Magic for Hammerhand. Yeah, no, I think maybe we don't do that. I think something like this. This is not... I don't think this is the finished version. When I was playing around with Skaven lists, I think I probably had like 30-odd versions before I settled on the one that I was happy playing. But I think this is... In my eyes, this improves the way that the list plays. I think this pushes it in the right direction. And maybe you just need to shoot me a message when you've tested it and give me feedback and see if there's anything else that we think needs to be tweaked. Maybe that's the option. You're not inflicted with a compulsory Fellblade. So that rat bastard, he did submit a list with Fellblade, and I took it out. Because I think, because you've got a big unit of Plague Monks here, there's going to be a point sink. Nick has correctly identified that people are going to just try and avoid the unit, so I think that's fine. And we just say, you know, we don't go too heavy, we don't go double Warlord. Lovely, lovely stuff. Alright, alrighty then. What else have we got? Am I going to see it in action at the next Saffron Slam? Yeah, he did say that he was going to be allowing Renegade rules there. We'll see how that goes. Get some actual games against them, like tournament games. That's probably the best way to work out if they're broken. So that's not the end of the world. Is there anyone here who is here and hasn't had their list looked at? Because I can move on to the next person here, if that helps at all. If not, I'll just go down the list. I think it was Sid's Wood Elves who was next up, just chronologically. Skulls. More Warriors of Chaos. Skulls, what's your username on Discord? Because I think it's different to YouTube. I should, well, I'd like to remember, but unfortunately, there is only so much space in my brain, and I can't. Also, Skulls. Oh, have I don't think I've missed you, have I? Wait, you might have changed it. Okay, I had a moment of panic there. I was like, I'm pretty sure I didn't submit put a list in from Skulls. If I'm looking at Warriors of Chaos, I've got Justin S, Artonus, Calamity. I think those are the Warriors of Chaos lists that I haven't. Your Arcanus into Discord. Yeah, but like I'd love to get to your lists, but by the time you've submitted it, I have already spent like an hour putting everyone's lists into Discord. But if you can, oh, it's just Ness now. Cool. Yeah, if you Arcanus, if you put your list in ahead of time, like maybe Thursday evening, Friday morning, my time is easier for you because it seems like getting them in just before cutoff is a bit close for you. Yours is Artonus. Hell yeah, Daniel. We can get to yours after this one then. You're in a Discord that wants a real name. That's disgusting. That shouldn't be allowed. I did join the Skaven Discord, and they made you, like, RP change your name to something Skaven. So I left pretty quickly. I was like, I'm not doing this. That's one of those, like, public scandals that comes out. It's worse than some politician who's been nonsense. You know, this YouTuber's been typing squeak squeak in an RP Discord. That would be the shame that I couldn't live with. Not an actual opinion. Weirdly, noncing is worse, but anyway, you get my point. Alright, so, Skulls, Warriors of Chaos. Let's have a look here. Was there anything typed with it? I want to make sure that I'm not missing anything important. I think Justin's list was a little further down. Looking to build Chaos Warriors. I really like the Chaos Warriors models. I also don't think Chaos Warriors are as bad as people initially thought. I think I'm more interested in big bricks of infantry than I was at the start of the edition. Alright, so, Justin says, the goal is to use Chaos Marauders in open order and Steed of Shadows / Arcane Urgency to have a very mobile wizard battery that stays out of charge angles. That is a good concept. In reality, someone's going to shut down your casting and you're going to lose the game. However, if you're willing to take that risk, I think that's fine. Because that's not going to happen every game. That's just going to happen like once every now and then. You're going to go, bugger, I got charged. This sucks. But I also think, I'm in favour of playing lists in non-standard ways. It's the ERP, Skaven Discords I need to watch out for. Yeah, absolutely. I I don't know. Maybe there was some of that. You didn't get access to the locked channels until you got your like name change approved. So I don't think I saw any of that. Right. So let's have a look at this list. Sorcerer Lord, Aspiring Champion, Sorcerer Lord. So we've got Double Wizard, we've got an Aspiring Champion who is on a Chariot BSB. You know how I feel about those. Big fan. You've gone War Banner, Great Weapon, Mark and Nurgle, Regen, Favourite Gods. Just straight up thumbs up on that Aspiring Champion. The two Wizards, you've got a Taskmaster Scourge. God, I can't do words. You are Marcus Zinch with Demonology. Okay, interesting. A couple of ways to avoid being shut down completely. I'm assuming you're talking about the Taskmaster's Scourge, giving it more movement. That's one of them. I think you definitely want a Spell Familiar here. You need the ability to get all of the spells. So getting a 5th spell here is ideal. And then if we have a look at the other one here. So this is Marcus Inch, Battle Magic, Ruby Ring, Infernal Puppet, Spell Familiar, Favourite Gods. This is a good setup. Yeah, that's good. And here, you know what? Let's give you a Favourite Gods as well, because it's just fun to roll on the table. So if you've got 2 of the characters with, why not go for the 3rd one? Because I think the top one had a Favour of the Gods as well, right? Favour, Favour, Favour. Yeah, perfect. They've all got at least one. Lets you roll. Core, we've got Forsaken Marauders. This is the bunker. Good. Warhounds. 6. I'm assuming the 6th one is just to get you over the line into points. If we go down here, yeah, it's hard to squeeze points there. 6 Chosen with Musician, Lancers, Full Plate, Drilled. Is that all of the upgrades on them? Yeah, okay. I actually don't know that I'd bother with the Musician here. So something that is nice about Drilled is that you don't have to test for leadership test to march if people are nearby, which is normally the reason I like musicians. And if we're trying to cut points, we maybe just don't go for the musician at all here. Then we've got Double Spawn, which is Mark and Nurgle. Good stuff. Okay, so we're 11 points over. And I think basically the list is good. I think giving this model a 5th spell is important. But I don't think that anything else really needs significant tweaks. So now we just need to find a way to get it under the line. How do we get it under the line? Because we have to cut 11 points. So in Core, if we go... you've gone full command here. That does help if you get caught, I guess. Open Order really does help because of the free pivots. Shields and light armor is nice. Hand weapon. And you probably want to be able to march. So you do want the musician here. You want the chieftain. What if we just went... The second wizard is only a level 3. Oh, wait. It's only a level 3? Is that me, or is that meant to be only a level 3? Ooh, okay. I want that to be a level 4. Okay, this changes things. How do we make this work? Because I think... Oh, you've got Lore Familiar on it, so we didn't even need Spell Familiar in the first place. Muppet. It's because it's been a long week. Apologies for that. So Lore Familiar is good. This is a good loadout. Just I think it's important to make them level 4. Casting at +5 is a lot more reliable. No worries, Daniel. Catch you later. What are the spells you want in Demonology? So it's more about the plus to cast. So Demonic Vessel, cast on a 10. So if you're only a level 3 with the Marcus Inch, you're casting it at... I guess that doesn't actually matter for this unit, but it's mostly Steed of Shadows, which casts on a 9. So here it's the difference between casting it on a 5 or on a 4, and it also means that you're less likely to get dispelled, and this is like your main way of not getting caught, right? So I think it's good to have the additional +1. You want to guarantee Steed of Shadows, the other spells aren't as necessary. Yeah, you're 100% right. For some reason I'd missed that there was a Lore Familiar on it. Marcus Inch can be cut because you can't take Blue Fire, but it's also giving you +1 to cast, which I think is quite important. So 26 points. I don't really want to cut a model here. Oh, this is difficult. So if we were making tweaks, I think we could go Crown of Everlasting Conquest instead of the Talisman. Like, Talisman's nice, but you've only got 3 attacks, so I actually don't care too much about the poison. You keep the favor there. I think we then also can just cut the favors on these, because they're cute, but you don't actually want to be rolling them unless something's gone wrong, and if something's gone wrong, you're tied up in combat, and thus the stupidity doesn't matter, so you don't need to reroll it. Now that puts us 11 points over. Taskmaster's Scourge is interesting. Given what these wizards want to do, I'm not sure how much you care about the ring. So this is a blaster unit. This is specifically flying around as a wizard bunker. Do we need the Taskmaster's Scourge? Because it doesn't go above 10, so if you cast Steed of Shadows, you don't get the plus movement. But it is a backup choice. It is a backup choice. I'd be tempted to probably just drop the Taskmaster's Scourge. Like that. How does that leave us for points? We're 15, we're 14 under. Scourge is decent for when it fails, gets dispelled. Yeah, you are right. The other option, the problem is you kind of need, because like the other option is you just go Spell Familiar and you go Taskmaster's Scourge, and this should put us below. Yeah, so this is 1996. So this is probably the version that I would run. However, you are taking a 1 in 6 chance that you don't get Steed of Shadows. Which is, you know, inarguably a downside. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to link this, because this is the tweaks that I'd make. I think the list makes sense. I think the core is good. You've got the bunker. You've got the 2 units of Forsaken that just want to do their own thing. You've got the Vanguard Chaos Warhounds. That's just a good unit. I think the Chosen are good. I think this is good. None of this needs tweaking. The only thing that I want to tweak is the characters, and that's a little bit down to personal preference, as opposed to like what is cut and dry, objectively the better choice. Because there are going to be, you get a 1 in 6 game, you just don't get Steed of Shadows. I think I would personally take that risk. However, you might not want to. So I'm going to link this, but I won't be personally offended if you prefer to just go with the version that you've got in. With your version, if you can get an additional +1 to cast, like the level 4, I think that's really strong. I'd maybe be tempted to go Lore Familiar instead of Taskmaster Scourge, and find that middle ground where you're definitely getting the spell that you want, but you're also casting it at +5. That might be the way to go, and then you fit in like another couple of Favour of the Gods. I think there's tweaking around that you can do, and it comes down to personal preference. Yeah, no worries. It's a good list. I think it's fun. I like it. I think that's a fun list. I also like that you followed up the message with a quick exclamation mark. It does really change the tone of the response, doesn't it? The flat thanks or thanks means blue fire is on the table again. That is true. I do like the double blue fire. That is one of the reasons that you do potentially drop the Lore Familiar. Sidebar, like, I find it so weird that you can't take, blue fire, your actual known spells if you've got that the Lore Familiar. I think that's one of the weirder changes they made. Like, I get that rules as written, that was how it worked already, but I just don't love it. Doesn't work for me. Worst case scenario, you could probably go down 1 Chosen Knight. I like 6 or 7 for heavy cavalry. For me, feels 5. Like, as soon as you take a couple of models, like if you lose 2 here and you're down to 4, you're like, oh, okay, sure. If you're down to 3, that just kind of feels worse. It just gives you a little bit more use if you take a little bit of, if you roll poorly, if you take some additional fire. All right. So because Daniel said they were going Artonis, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back to the list after the next one, just so we're not doing another back-to-back Warriors of Chaos. So let's have a look at Sid's Wood Elves, because Sid is playing Wood Elves, which is a hero move. So this is a fun list, I think. We've got a Lord on Dragon, we've got a level 4 with the Oaken Stave, and it was Elementalism. We've got a level 2 with Lore Familiar Battle Magic, which I think is solid. Then there's Glade Riders, Glade Guard, Dryads, Deepwood Scouts, Wild Riders, Treeman. I think the models can probably stay the same, but we're just going to tweak how everything's set up. So, what I think the best way to do this would be, this Glade Lord, he's got an Armor of Meteoric Eye and Talisman of Protection, so he's got a 5 up against all attacks, and then an Annoyance of Netlings, so really annoying in a challenge. I'm also going to put on a Resplendent of Luminescence. I think it's just a good idea to have defense against magical, ethereal units. And in this case, you've got a 10-point upgrade that lets you do that. So we're going to go in there. I think Befuddlement of Mischiefs is good, but also I don't necessarily think you need it. So we can make the cut there. This unit of Glade Riders, we're going to put a Glade Knight and a Musician in. The reason for that is we want to, if you ever get caught, you want to sacrifice the unit champion. Try never to get caught, but also have a plan for if you do. So you get caught by, let's say, a dragon, you challenge out with a Glade Knight, hopefully you then flee, you roll far enough on your Swift Stride, run away, and you get out of there. Musician, you probably will have people run at you, so you're going to have to test a march sometimes. Hagbane Tips and Reserve Move, A-OK on there. Also, the Musician is good for rallying. It's not necessarily, because you're reserve moving, you might not be marching anyway, but it's just good to have it on a unit that might be fleeing. Glade Guard, they're fine. We're going to go down to 8. Multiple of 4 really strong. The reason multiple of 4 is really strong is because you take panic tests when you take over 25% of your unit's strength as casualties, and also if you're below 25%, you give up points and you struggle to rally. So here, you're more likely to, you need to go down to a single model before you give up any points with this unit, or, only rally on a double 1. And you need to be down to 3 models before you are rallying at -1, or just -1 leadership. So that's, I think, good. I like a Musician with these, but I also don't think they're super important, and you've already gone above on core, so let's not be too precious about putting that in. So we've got 2 units of those. I'm going to get rid of the 3rd unit, and you've got 2 units of Deepwood Scouts with unit champions. I don't think the unit champion really does much here, and also you've gone Arcane Bodkins. I don't think that's the right choice. I think Hagbane Tips, especially because you've got an Elementalism caster. So I think we just buff the Deepwood Scouts up to 2 units of 8. We remove the unit champions, and you go for Hagbane Tips, and that gives you just a better, more mobile unit. You've also then got 8 Dryads. Dryads I don't think are super optimal, but they're not a problem. They're not bad. I think they're fine. So, if you want to run Dryads, let's run Dryads. A unit of 8, little cheeky, skirmish, kind of tanky unit that you can, put into the flank of something. That's not awful. Wild Riders. Wild Riders do have some issues, which is controlling them, but they also hit the hardest out of all of the models. With that in mind, let's not run a Standard Bearer. They're going to die. They're just going to give up an additional 50 points if you do that. What we could do, though, is we probably want something to try and control them a little bit. And I think a good use for that would be giving them a Great Eagle. This is the classic trying to control your Wild Riders. Because if you, even though you have Frenzy, if the Eagle is stood in front of you, they're unable to charge. If you want to charge, you just charge the Great Eagle into something else or into that unit as well, and then the Wild Riders go in, and bada bing, bada boom, you've got a little bit of frenzy control. It's weak against shooting. If the Eagle gets shot, then they have to charge. But if they're shooting the Eagle, they're not shooting the Wild Riders. And honestly, the Eagle's kind of tankier, so I think that's pretty solid. Other than that, you've gone for a Treeman. Treeman are cool. I like them. I don't think they're particularly good or bad. I think they're pretty middle of the road. I don't hate them as a bit of an anchor, and that puts us 32 points over. So the only thing we're going to do here, I think, is tweak the units of Glade Guard down to 6 models, I guess. And in fact, let's drop that entirely, go down to 5 models here, and then we'll go into special, because you can have another unit of Deepwood Scouts, which are exactly the same as normal Glade Guard, but they have Skirmish, which is just stronger for you as someone who wants to be running around. Yeah, and I think this is basically the same models, but just a stronger version of the list. And it does leave us with 6 points. Is there anything we want to put these 6 points into? I mean, the unit of Glade Guard we could just give Fire and Flee. It's not like a super important upgrade, but I don't hate it at all. It's fun to have in there. Yeah, I think this is good. The only other tweak you might want to make is put a power scroll in here. But I don't really want to tweak the quantities of what we've got anywhere else. Like, we'd have to cut So we'd cut the Fire and Flee here, drop this down. Oh, actually, no, that's better. Yeah, so let's go to 6 Deepwood Scouts, and we're going to upgrade the Spell Singer to have a Power Scroll, because I'm assuming since it's a level 2 Battle Magic caster, you're probably trying to cast Pillar of Fire early. Have the Power Scroll, get that off, or if you're going for Arcane Urgency, it just gives you the flexibility to get the important spell off when you need to get it off. So, yeah, this was a pretty easy one to tweak, I think, and I like the list, and I hope it does well for you, because Wood Elves are obviously in a little bit of a holding pattern at the moment. Really looking forward to seeing what they get in the upcoming set of rules. Okay, so Daniel was here, and he is called Artonis. So we're going to have a look at Artonis's Warriors of Chaos list as the next one. Warriors of Chaos. Everyone's playing them at the moment. This is a pretty, like, a more standard list. So we've got the Lord, Nurgle, Ogre Blade, Shield, double Favour of the Gods, Brazen Collar, and Chanting Aura. So this gives you strikes last for everyone in base to base with you, Ogre Blade, so you hit really hard. 2 Favour of the Gods, Magic Resist 2 from the Brazen Collar, Dragon, Mark and Nurgle, so they're rerunning 6s. This is like the optimal loadout. We've got a Sorcerer Lord who is undivided with Infernal Puppet, Ruby Ring, and Battle Magic. Who's it joining? Is it joining your Zinch unit? Maybe I've made a mistake here. Let me just make sure that I haven't missed something on Daniel's list. Let's have a look here. Just going up, because I've taken them out of order a little bit. It's now slightly hard to catch some bits and pieces. Do I have Hasflavor's list? I don't, unfortunately. Wasn't able to fit that one in, because the priority system of I look at people whose lists haven't been looked at in the last 2 weeks for members, then non-members, and then people whose have for members and non-members just didn't quite make the cut. We did have I think about 20 people submitting today, but it does have #1 priority for the next stream. I did put him down for that, I believe. Sorry, what was I scrolling for? I was looking for someone's list here. Can't find it. My eyes have blurred over. Oh, there we go. Cool. Trying out Chaos for the first time. Tend to put Enchanted Aura on the Sorceress to buff the Knights. Yeah, so... Okay, so let's just go... First things first, let's take Mark of Zinch off the Knights. I think Undivided is really strong for the Chaos Knights. Nurgle's a good contender because it makes them better in combat. It makes them harder to kill. But if you go with Undivided, they get to reroll their panic. And the big way that this list, or this sort of list, will lose is if you run off the table with your big Death Star character unit. So let's not bother going Zinch. This character isn't Zinch, but I think we probably do make it Zinch, so you get the ability to take Blue Fire. You know 5 spells anyway, so that's good. And then we've got Warhounds Forsaken. These are just solid units to have. 4 Dragon Ogres, and then 1 Dragon Ogre with the Black and Plate Shartak, and then a Gigantic Spawn. This is like very by-the-book Warriors of Chaos. If you're starting out with Chaos, this is probably a really good sort of beginning list to go with. And it does leave us with a few points left over now that we've made some tweaks. So what do we want to put in to fill those points? I think maybe we just go Favour of the Gods on each of these, because we're literally just filling points here. Warriors of Chaos are really hard to put models in. Like, I'd have loved to put an extra Chaos Knight in, but that would have put us 11 points over, so that doesn't actually work for us. So we just go back down to 9, and then we're 7 points or 8 points under. So I guess we probably just go 1 more Warhound. Something like that, and that takes you to your points. But yeah, this is a pretty like standard, pretty classic Warriors of Chaos list. You're not going to go far wrong with this list as it stands. So let me just go at Artonis, and oh, for some reason I haven't copied it. There we go, good stuff. All right, okie dokie. So we have got 5 lists left. We've got the Combat Wombat next. So this is a Renegades list with a Slan, a Saurus Old Blood on Carnosaur, a Skink on a Pterodon, which is a fun idea. I'm not sold on that bit, but then there's Skinks, Skirmishers, Temple Guard, and Triple Bastillodon. So this is, I think, I like the concept of the list, but I think there are some tweaks I'd want to make. The Old Blood, you didn't give a shield, so I think we just straight up give a shield, so we get +1 to the save against shooting attacks. That just makes perfect sense to me. The Glyph Necklace is a 5-up ward and magic resist 2, I believe. Let me just double check that one. That is correct. And Hide of the Cold Ones is +1 to your armor save, but you get Stupidity. Obviously, in the Renegades pack, the chance of you failing a Stupidity test is pretty damn low, so we're not really worried about that. We've then got Great Weapon, so you're going to hit just hard in combat, because you've got 5 attacks +1 on the charge. You know what? I don't think you need to go for it, but I wouldn't be upset at going Paymaster's Coin, because 6 attacks with a Great Weapon when you're only going to be hitting on 4s into the things that really matter, I think that's not an awful shout. And we've got points that we can tweak around with. The special units, I do quite like the triple Engine of the God, Solar Engine, I should say, output list here. That's fine. And then there's Elementalism to buff it up. Obviously, you've got Plague of Rust there. It's quite nice as well. What else? I'm not sold on these units of Skink Skirmishers. I'm assuming you're playing with like a hard cap rule of 3, which is why you've gone units of 20. I kind of feel like 20 is too big. That's like really hard to manage. But I also don't know necessarily how I'd tweak it. I think I'd probably give 2 units Vanguard, because, you know, it's 5 points per unit, so you may as well just give them that and get them out the way. They are going to bottleneck you a little bit. Units of 20 models are kind of beefy. But I think we also probably just shave some points off here. So if we go multiples of 4, so like 16s. Let's go down to 16s here. Yeah, so I would probably be more tempted to go down to units of like 12 on the Skirmishers, and then maybe buff up the Temple Guard. In fact, let's have a look at how that looks. Obviously, the Skirmishers are good, but I'm just worried about being able to actively move them around the table. So then you just go something like that. Takes you up to 19. I'm going to put it back to the way it was, just because I'm assuming there's a, you know, usually with this sort of thing, there's a model limitation. So I'd like to keep it closer to what the player has. Paymaster reroll wounds. No, Paymaster says reroll hits, and you declare it after you've already rolled. Failed, rolls to hit made during the combat phase. And I think the best user of in the game of it is probably this model, because you've got a lower weapon skill and more attacks than pretty much every other combat character. So this does put us points below. Honestly, here, like, so this is fun. I'm gonna leave it in, but I'm gonna talk about why I think it might not be super optimal. So you've got a Skink Chief who has a ballistic skill of 5. 5 means that you're hitting on 2s natively, right? You're going to be moving because you're shooting the Staff of the Lost Sun, which is a 12-inch range weapon. So because you're moving, you're going to be hitting on 3s. You're going to be shooting at long range, realistically, because you're 12-inch range. So if you're outside of 6 inches, you're going to be hitting on 4s. Your multiple shots 3, so now you're hitting on 5s. That means on average, this model hits once. That feels maybe not good enough for me. However, I do appreciate just having a nut job riding around a lizard, you know, that does nominal damage. You can send him off to hunt a wizard or something like that. So I think it's fun. I think it's cute. I think the melee profile is okay. No, the melee profile is terrible. Oh dear. The scimitar is, yeah. But I think, you know, if you want to have something that's a little bit inefficient you're not too bothered about having everything being amazing, this can stay in. If you've picked this because you think it's going to be a good, like, aggressive piece, I would drop it, I think. I'd be more tempted to take, like, a Skink Priest for the Slan Mage to go through. In fact, I'm going to do that. As, like, feel free to put it back in. But let's just go with, you know, having a level 2 battle magic wizard that you can throw the Slan Mage Priest through. That probably feels more useful. In fact, you could probably just go... Maybe just go 2 level 1s. Maybe this is better. Because if you do this, you've got 2 Arcane Vassals that you can cast through. and they can go in the skirmishes pretty well. I think that feels probably better. And then you just go Temple Guard, and you've got 7 points left. Not really anything to spend the 7 points on, is there? Not particularly. Yeah, something like that. Ruby Ring on the Temple Guard. You know what? It's not an awful shout. I mean, you could even put it on a Skink Priest. I think that probably makes the most sense. So if we go down here, and then if we cut down to 14, taking it just to basic core, and then give this one the Ruby Ring. Yeah, I think I like that. That feels better. Ruby Ring's a good suggestion. Good shout, Chris. Yeah, there we go. There we go. Perfect. Cool. Yeah, let's piece that one. Sorry, I've just reread the message from Voltron. So Haz's list, I haven't put it in, but you said it's for next weekend. So let me just glance my eyes over it and see if there's anything that I would tweak that I could just give advice on by reading it. Because oh, fuck. He has actually posted it. Okay. Let me just... 1 second. There we go. I wasn't sure if it shows up all my files, and I don't want to... There's nothing in there that matters, but also I should probably just make sure that nobody's able to see my shit. So just to very quickly flick through this then, because you said it's for next weekend. This doesn't count. If you want to submit next time Has a Flavor, you're welcome to. But given that Voltron said this is for next weekend, I should probably give a very quick look over. Double Necrosphinx, triple Tomb Scorpion with ambushes. That's a good upgrade. The core is the Chariots, the Warriors, and the Horse Archers. And then you've gone for... Oh, you've gone for the Chariot Death Star, right? Yeah, that feels good. I wouldn't bother with the Potion of Toughness here. Like, I understand what you're going for, but realistically it won't do what you need it to. You'd be better off with the Healing Potion, but you can't get that in, can you? Yeah, no, I think we ignore Potion of Toughness. Although you can pop it on the turn that you go in. Is there anything else that you could tweak here? No. Okay, I don't like the Potion of Toughness, but I don't know anything that's better to go with it. Great weapon. You probably want to go for a great weapon here. Like, there's no point going for a hand weapon and shield, or even just a naked hand weapon. So just make a cut to give this model a great weapon. And then Scarab Brooch. That's the poison, right? No, from the Beneath the Sands. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Cool. Yeah, this looks fine. I think this looks fine enough. I don't know that you need the Warding Splint here, but I guess it's also not an issue to have. And just make sure the Royal Herald's got a weapon. And I don't like the Potion of Toughness, but I don't know what else you'd go with. Cool. Okay, so back to the lists here. Surrender, you said my list would be next time, or did I misread that? Yes. So, because it's already coming up to 20 to 10. I've gone over the amount of lists that I can have. I just, because Voltron said that this is for an event next weekend, I figured I could look my eyes over it very quickly to go with. If you've submitted your list, and I'm not going to get to it today, but you want advice in it, like if it's for next weekend or something like that, feel free to post it in the relevant Discord channel, like Tomb Kings for this one, and then at me, and I can have a look at it for you. Yeah, no worries, Surrenders. And Music Theory Wizard, I would, I'd say yes, but because I'm inundated with the list today, I'm over on them. I probably don't have time to look at it today, but if you want me to have a look at the list, post it in I'm assuming Orcs and Goblins, and at me, and I'll be happy to give some feedback on your list. So let's go to, I think the next one is, we'll go to Calamity's list. So this is another Warriors of Chaos list. This is Oh, this is an interesting one. This was with German comp, and I, off the top of my head, can't remember what German comp is. I know it's a long list of restrictions, and I'll be honest, my eyes glazed over a little bit. German comp, Warhammer, Old World. Let's see here. So, of course, it wouldn't be that easy to find. So, if I remember correctly, German comp is limit on number of flyers, limit on the number of wounds a character can have as well, or something like that. There's a lot of limitations in. So, I can't off the top of my head remember exactly what it is, but I'm assuming there's a reason. That's the reason that you haven't got a Dragon Lord here, and you've got the Warpfire Dragon. I quite like this list in terms of you've gone for multiple flying pieces. I'm assuming that the power level is a little lower at the top end because of German comp. So I think first order of business, we take the casting off here. I don't think when you've only got a single wizard, it's worth going for the additional casting on the Warpfire Dragon. I think the Chimeras, I don't love them. Like, they're super squishy. We're talking T5 with 4 wounds. Yes, I know they've got a 5 up. I feel like that's a little low, but I can see what you're going for. I would be tempted here to go with maybe Dark Magic. Demonology is probably still correct, but Dark Magic gives you... Oh no, maybe it is Demonology that has the debuff that I'm looking for. Let's have a look here. Oh yeah, no, it is Dark Magic. So with Gathering Darkness, you can do like Terror Bombing. So I think this makes sense here, that you've got the wizard, and then you've got the 3 terror causes that could go for it. They've changed it again, not sure how drastically. Man, I'm just not a comp guy, man. Like, I just want to play the game. Sorry, I don't have a link to it, and I haven't been able to pull a link up. Otherwise, I would have a look at the specifics. But there's not one here. Again, so if you want to, like, if you want more specific advice, if you don't think the advice that I give here is going to be suitable, feel free to post it in Warriors of Chaos, post me a link to German comp, and then at me. This is Calamity, and I'd be happy to have another look at that. So I think here, like, I don't love the 3rd unit of Warhounds, but also, you know, what else are you going to fill the core with for 35 points? You could go, like, +1 Chaos Knight and minus some Warhounds, but this just gets your core. So I think the core is absolutely fine. I think the Terror Bombing concept is interesting. And then here you've got the Exalted Champion BSB, who's also the Ogre Blade Favour of the Gods character. I think that's fun. I think that's an interesting twist on it. I think if you're going to go for it, I'd be half tempted to go War Banner as well. I guess you've got that in here. So I'm assuming it's attached to the unit, at which point I think we go Icon of Darkness, because one of the big things you're going to struggle with in this list, apart from dragons parking themselves in front of you, is just getting gunned down, and I think Icon of Darkness can really help with that. So Icon here is probably right, and then on this wizard you've gone for Crown of Everlasting Conquest, which is the regen. Yeah, it's the regen. Spell Familiar Favour of the Gods and Enchanting Aura. I think that's really solid. Mark and Nurgle means that this unit can get +1 toughness. Normally, I wouldn't run them as Nurgle, but you've got the BSB, so you get to reroll the panic there, so I think that's good. And yeah, I think you're just... It looks like you're 40 points short. I'm not sure if that was from the list. But with 40 points, is there anything I'd put in? I think... I'd be really tempted to say... I know this is squishier, but you lose the regen, you gain the Infernal Puppet, and you gain Armor of Meteoric Iron. And that's not quite as tanky as what you had, but it's not far off, and it gets you Infernal Puppet. Quick question, what Law of Magic would you lose for level 4 Necromancer without Screams? I think Necromancy is just a good generic use. You could go Dark Magic if you wanted to buff up your 2 units of Cavalry, you know, give them Battle Lust, but I think Necromancy is just a solid, you know, take all comers. And you do cause fear, so, you know, you can give the unit that it's in a ward save with, I think it's the #1 spell. You've got a magic missile in there, if I remember correctly, that's pretty decent. You've got debuffing to leadership, which is good because they'll hit you worse or they'll run away from combat better. I think Necromancy is still really good. But yeah, for this list, I think this is probably about right. You just want the Sorcerer Lord to not... like to be more valuable. And I think the value you get from it, I know you lose the value of the Infernal Puppet when you're in combat, but I think getting to combat is the important thing. So I think I tweak it like this, and then I guess we'll put the Musician on because you've got the points, and I think Musicians are just generally a very good thing to have. So we're just going to go, let me add Calamity here. Cool. So where are we up to now? Next up, we have got Minkup's Dark Elves, and there was definitely some text with this one, so let me just very quickly scroll up to that and find it. So, the list was called Blackguard. The idea of this one is to play something else than Dark Rider, Shadows, Bolt Throwers with a dragon and still have something good that can perform a bit in competitive. Okay, let's have a look here. So we've got a Dark Lord Dragon. Good start. This is a good start to a list. You've got Shield of God, Pendle of Caleth, Sword of Might. So you've got a 2-up save against shooting, 3-up save in combat, and a 4-up board against stuff that matters. Good loadout. Supreme Sorceress is Demonology, Ruby Ring, Tome of Furion. Okay, so this is going to go in with the Blackguard, I guess. So you're going to Steed of Shadows and Demonic Vessel and Demonic Vigor this. Okay, that makes sense. I can live with that. The Dark Elf Master is Obsidian Lodestone with a great weapon and full plate armor. I don't think a single Obsidian Lodestone is good. Let's just take that out to start with. Magic Resist 1 is not usually worth taking. Magic Resist 2 is often worth taking, though. So in core, you've got some warriors with shields, you've got some crossbows, then you've got double Dark Riders. The warriors are non-optimal. Like, there's not really anything else that I can say about them. They're really expensive per wound for what they do. But if you want to do something different, it's core. It's, you know, it's not going to cause you too many issues, and you can potentially tie someone up with them. The repeater crossbows and the Dark Riders, I think, are solid. Just remember, because you've got scouts on, you're giving the +1 to go first up, because that's now been FAQ'd to count towards who goes first. 2 units of Harpies. Harpies are fine. Shades are fine as well. And then the big unit of Blackguard. Yeah, okay. So here you've gone for Obsidian Lodestone. I think let's just go 2 Obsidian Lodestone. So we've taken one off the Master and we've put the second one on the Blackguard. Now you've actually got Magic Resist 2 on the unit, whereas before you only had Magic Resist 1. Banner of Harganeth is really good. Full command drilled. Yep, that's fine. I think this seems fine. Like, the Dragon's good. The Wizard's fine. The Focus Familiar is probably not super useful, but if you need to buff... Like, if you need to Steed of Shadows the Warriors or something, and you can't do it from where you are, you'll be happy to have it. Cool. I think this is, like, from the concept you've gone with, I don't think there's really anything to tweak. I think the Dreadlord's got an optimal loadout. I think the Supreme Sorceress has a good loadout. I think the Master is fine. I'd be tempted to go... You know what, actually, let's go a little bit tankier. I'm just worried that you're going to lose your BSB for nothing, and that would be sad. So let's just go full plate shield, make you a little bit tankier. And let's make it a charmed shield instead of a regular shield. And that just means that you're less likely to fall over. And then instead of having Initiative 5 Great Weapon attacks, you'd have Initiative Strikes First Biting Blade attacks, which is okay. You know, might make a difference in the challenge. And you've already used Banner of Harganeth, and you have... Probably just go for a War Banner here as well. You may as well just stack the unit to the 9s. And then we just need to shave 41 points, which I think is 2 of these, plus we're 9 points over here. Can we shave 1? There we go. Perfect. So you've still got a big unit of 20 Blackguard by the time you put your 2 characters in. The Warriors matter a little bit less. And yeah, I think that sorts your list there. And this was a Minkup. Do you consider the Renegade lists to be legal? My position on it is that I would rather play the core rules, and I'd rather Games Workshop fixed it. However, my main concern is that I don't want the community to be fractured. So I want either 5% of the community or 95% of the community to pick up the rules. And I don't really care which way it goes. Like I said, I'd rather Games Workshop fix the rules themselves, and I think these rules have come out a bit earlier than I would like to see them. However, if 95% of the community goes with it, I don't have any major problems with it, despite me personally preferring to play just normal Games Workshop released rules. Cool. So, then we are on to... Oh, we've only got 2 lists left. So we've got Ed and Jordan, who I don't think either of them are here, but they normally give me grief on the Tuesday show at least. Jordan's out drinking, and I assume Ed is as well. So let's have a look at this. So Ed's list was just called Please Fix, and it is Seaguard. So honestly, I might have to come back to this one because Seaguard's an interesting one. So the concept is we've got a merworm. I know he's not here, so I can't ask him what his goal is, and he's not given any sort of concept. So we'll approach it as it stands, which is maximizing what we've got here. I'm assuming Ed wants to run a merworm because they're cool, which I think is super reasonable. The Great Eagle as well. I don't hate an eagle. It's fine. You know, you used to see them more than you do in this edition, but it is what it is. Return to Worm. Yeah, absolutely. Lothan Seaguard. 50 is fine. Ring of Fury, Banner of Balance. I actually quite like the Banner of Balance. I think that's funny. So this means, like, if you're attacking into Nurgle, you never have to re-roll against them. That's, you know, it's fine. It's a decent defensive banner. Honestly, it's probably better just to go War Banner here on balance of probability, realistically. But that's fine. And the full command is good. Ring of Fury is okay. I think I don't hate it, is what I would say. It's fine. The Stormweaver is Dark Magic Lore Familiar Power Scroll. I don't know that this is going to do anything at all, honestly. I think I'd rather see Elementalism. Dark Magic gives you Battle Lust. I don't want to be charging. I want to be standing and shooting with this unit. So I think, yes, there is Word of Pain, which is, you know, -1 Strength and Toughness. Yeah. I'd much rather see -2 to their armor save, because then this unit can theoretically do something. Or even Illusion, and you just try and stop them from getting in. But I think let's go Elementalism, Lore Familiar, 2 Power Scrolls. Ashai Vess, I think, is a good addition to this list, because it gives the Lothan Seaguard AP1 on all of their attacks. Just a really solid little addition to have there. Then we've got Triple Commander. So there's a BSB with the Battle Banner, so we definitely want to double down on the combat res. Battle Banner, you don't have to charge, do you, for this one? No, it's just always on plus D3. With a Warbow, Heavy Armor, Shield, on foot, Lawmaster's Cloak, Ring of Fury. I think this is a good loadout, giving the unit the 4 board against magic missiles and then an additional bit of Hammerhand Punch. I can see that Ed's gone heavy on the Hammerhand, basically. In fact, I'm kind of surprised that he hasn't gone for the Hammerhand here. I might be tempted to just say, let's just really all in on the concept and go Ring of Fury here as well. That may be the way to go. 3 points too many. Okay, maybe that's why we haven't done it. So we'll just take off the Ring of Fury and go back to the Power Scroll. This Seaguard commander is Ring of Fury, Dragon Helm. I feel like he wants some sort of melee weapon. They kind of need something, right? So this is a Newlian Crystal, which is the Auto Dispel item, right? Wait, what? 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 I think he might be cooking a little bit hard. So this model doesn't make any sense. So a Newlian Crystal is after you cast a spell, you can forget that spell and immediately generate another. So I don't know if he thinks he can do it with Ring of Fury, but because the model isn't casting the spell, the ring is casting the spell, this doesn't work. So I'm just going to remove this model here, like so. And we're just going to give these two... do they have Strike First? Yeah, let's give them both... Swordamite? Swordamite's good. So we can actually maybe do something with them. What's this one got here? Ring of Fury, Dragon Helm. Wait, why is he so expensive? Talisman of Protection. What is going on here? His items are all over the shop. Like, really all over the shop. So we'll get rid of that. We'll go Charm Shield. I guess this model is to try and tank through challenges. But he doesn't have full plate, so he's only got a 3-up save. He also hasn't given him a shield. Ed, what are you doing? This doesn't make any sense. He says, please fix, and I'm trying to fix, but, like, this is... Alright. I'm nixing this idea. This is gone. So, we're going level 3. And we're going to put the level 3... We're going to cut down to a single power scroll. We're going to go Ring of Fury. This unit will have 3 Rings of Fury in it. And a Shy of S. So there's a lot of strikes first damage coming out. Okay. This doesn't have strikes first, but, you know, the rest of the unit does. Or whatever. No. This model does, and then there's high initiative stuff here. Okay. It's always the elf players trying this stuff, trying to tell me they could vault and making Cetra's Chariot. That's funny. That's really funny. I wanted to vault and making a war banner the other day, but I double checked and it's characters only, which is sad. So I think let's go. So this is the BSB, right? Yeah. So let's just go for a Griffin as well. So you've got some sort of like ranged do something. So here we're going to go Dragon Helm, and we'll go Talisman of Protection, and we'll go Ring of Fury. How many points does that put us on? I think it puts us on too many points to buy a magic weapon as well. But we can go Cav Spear. Like, I feel like this is a better use of your character points, right? So you've got a Shy of S who's buffing the unit, you've got the Stormweaver and the Garrison Commander in there as well, and then you've got a Griffin flying around. That feels more useful than what he had. And then we've got the Sea Guard, the Great Eagle, the Merworm. Like, this is, I don't think is good, but you're allowed to have mediocre models that you love. Honestly, is it just this? Is this the way forwards? There's not another Ring of Fury we can get in, is there? No. Is there a way we can squeeze in another character? I don't think so. Not without... Oh, yes, of course there is. I'm being stupid. So we go War Banner here, which is the way round it should be anyway. We go Battle Banner here. We can't do that. That's why he's not done it. God damn it. Just every time I think there's an upgrade. No. No. Okay. Cool. Sure. Sure. I think this is what we're going with, Ed, and you better be happy. I feel like you've deliberately gone out your way to hurt me. We do still have 10 points left to spend. I don't know that there's anything for 10 points that we want to buy. There's really not. I think you might just be down on points. That's really stupid. That feels really stupid. It's not any better armor we could buy you, is there? No. Alright, cool. I think this is what we're going with, Ed. And I expect a message justifying your actions. Ed is active in the VIP section to give me shit, just for the context there. I'm not just ribbing him unnecessarily. And then finally we've got Jordan, and I call this list Jordan a knob. Jordan also gives me a lot of shit. Why did I call this list Jordan's a knob? I think it was because he didn't... Oh, he submitted it. He tried to download the JSON file, and it didn't work. That was it. So, this is the list that the restrictions were... teams list, intent to play full evasion, give up near 0 points with slim wins where possible. The Lore Familiar Wizard should probably be an illusion caster to lock down dragons or something like that, but triple fireball was funny. And zero artillery trying to make me sweat. Yeah, I think that's actually a really good list concept. I also agree that this character here should be illusion. And we're going to do that because you're going to kill slightly less and you're going to win so many more games. So we've got the Ruby Ring caster here, we've got an Arcane Familiar caster here, which I don't love, but I understand why you've gone for it, because you take Demonology as your second spell, and you just get the guaranteed magic missile. The Griffin with the Dragon Bow is good, but let's give it a lance, which I don't think you did. No, we want to give it at least some sort of melee weapon. And then I think the steam tank probably goes. Like you said, you want to be mobile. The steam tank is not mobile, so let's just get rid of that. And I think if we're playing this sort of playstyle, the thing that you put in is Outriders, right? I know they're not as good as they would be if it was a null, but I think they're still kind of decent. So do we just go something like this with a grenade launching blunderbuss? And if you went like 2 units of 6, is that good? Oh no, that's 5. So a unit 6, unit 6, and then if we drop this one down to not having a champion, is still over the line. Oh yeah, we don't go scouts with this. I think we go Vanguard, because that way you don't have to give up the +1 to go first. When you're playing an evasive list, you don't want to let them go first. You want to get your positioning, ideally. This is 1991, so maybe we just go back to having a captain. I'd be more interested in giving both of these units musicians if I could, which does put us 3 points over. So do we just lose? Honestly, I think we maybe just lose the standard bearer here. Oh no, because that would put us 1 point under. That is really annoying. This unit, the Icon of More, is a good upgrade if you're playing an Empire, and like it gives your unit fear, but it also makes them immune to terror. So it is quite a nice little cheeky upgrade there. Is there anything in the characters that we tweak? Probably want a power scroll on this one. So we might have to shave some points from special we've just put in, but that's okay. So power scroll to make sure you get that through, because like if the Chaos Lord is trying to run you down, you know, on Dragon that has magic resist 2, you need a way to get through. He uses Arcane Urgency on the Stank. I mean, that's still not... It's still a close order unit, though. I still personally don't know that it works. Because it's a move 4, and I understand that you can steam power it, but isn't there like high pressure or something where you have to stay still if you roll on that? Let's just have a quick look. It's been a hot minute since I've looked at a steam tank because I don't think they're necessarily super good. Let's have a look here. What's the rule I'm looking for? I thought it was on... temperamental. Here we go. If you roll a 1... Oh, you can just lose a wound. I still think... Let's not use Arcane... Like, if you put something into your list that you have to use Arcane Urgency on throughout the game, you're then not using Arcane Urgency on the other units to get them out of danger, so I think that's probably not the right choice. I think you're better to just go full avoidance with, like, Light Cav and shoot them to death. That feels better to me. So... we definitely want the Illusion Caster here. Ruby Ring's good. Isn't there another magic missile weapon that you can take? Or am I talking up my backside? No. Twin-tailed wand lets you cast twice. Tome of Midnight is... Yeah, you get +1 to cast, but you also know +1 spell. I think the Tome of Midnight's probably worth taking. Can you do Winner Stays On with the list you've done tonight just for fun, like if they theory fought? That, I think, would have to be a whole stream on its own, because I think that's probably like an extra 30 minutes or so of content. But it's not a bad idea. Maybe something I should think about. So, let's go with this one here. It's the one with the Arcane Familiar. Here's the thing. I think instead of going Arcane Familiar, let's go Tome of Midnight. So the reason Tome of Midnight works is you get +1 to your casting rolls for only these laws. Sure, that's fine. You also know +1 spell. So that means you're more likely to get the Fireball than Pillar of Fire, and I think that's just better than having, like, potentially, you know, getting Arcane Urgency, potentially getting something, you know, 3 bad spells and Battle Magic, and then the Summoning. So I think I like Tome of Midnight, even though it doesn't give you +1 to cast on on any of your spells. And then here we probably just have to tweak. So I think we maybe just go down to a single unit of 8. Is that right? No, that's not right. I don't really want to go... Yeah. What if we just went... Duplicate, and is there anything I can lose here? So we lose the musician, which does hurt. I do like having musicians there. We lose the musician, so that puts us 20 points over. I think we just have to lose a model, right? God, they're 19 points per model. That is taking the mick. These are 21 points per model. There we go. I think this is maybe the version that I'd go with. Cool. We'll call that done. Hopefully you all enjoyed and got value out of that. As always, I do enjoy it. I will be back with more Fix My List, not next Friday, but the Friday after that. And I'm sure there'll be plenty of stuff between now and then. Enjoy your